I'm Karthikeyan. I work as a cloud native architect and a Microsoft MVP, and I have 14 years of experience. And I also have a very good experience in working in serverless architecture. One of my strengths is, I would say, serverless. So let's start the session now, and we'll go from there. This will be basically a 101 session where you will understand what is serverless, what are the offerings from Azure. If you want to go further, we'll put you the link for the advanced sessions for any other serverless. Okay, fine. Let's start. Let's start with why serverless is great. People are talking about serverless, but why it is great? Okay, so there should be something that is different, right? Right now, every business is running, but why should I move to serverless? The first thing is the development and operations are very much easy. Okay, packaging, verifying, creating, or monitoring your function app or monitoring your application, it actually becomes easier and easier. Second, you can innovate faster. The ideas can be implemented as soon as possible, and it can do it without much cost. The main problem with a cloud or any other software is the cost, right? So the cost can be greatly reduced. It can be almost be reduced to zero. The second one is the time to market. You can actually release the project or application as fast as possible and with a very less cost. That's a great advantage of serverless. I would say that is the main advantage you have to think about because the cost is so less. Sometimes you can actually get away with without paying any single penny or single rupee or single paisa. So that is the huge benefit of serverless. You don't need a yeah. Let's get into before going to what is serverless. Let's see how serverless got evolved into. So now the serverless, okay, the software evolved into a serverless platforms. The first was we started with on-premises, meaning there will be a huge rack of servers in your company or in your data center, which is available in somewhere far from your company where they take care of your rack spaces. And then next came up with IaaS option in the cloud. Amazon came up with IaaS option where they gave you a cloud where you actually have to manage VM, but the hardware they will take care of it. The next came with a PaaS offering where the hardware will be taken care, the software will be taken care, but the runtime you have to take care. Okay. Next is the serverless where you don't have to take care of hardware, software, or the runtime. Everything they will take care, scaling up, scaling down, what is the cost amount, everything will be taken care by the cloud itself. That is where it becomes a serverless. Okay, let's take a scenario where initially how it worked. So we spoke about having a on-premise, IaaS, PaaS, and a SaaS, right? Serverless, PaaS. So let's start with say I have a shop. Okay, I want to go online, right? The whole point is to go online for the shop. Uh, as what all I need a huge application, right? And a multiple servers to run. And then if the server gets uh, process your application, and then it spits out into your web app or your mobile or Xbox, Kinect. So there is a huge cost involved when you're moving from just from a normal application to online. What are the questions I need to take care? Okay. The questions are among us. Whatever that is shown here, it's actually a little. It's like ice on the top of the sea. Okay, this is huge. You have to take care of who has access to the physical server. Do I need to have an uninterrupted power supply, or what OS I should deploy or install? What happens when the power goes out? Do I need a secondary network connection? Do I need to do a backup? Do I need to make sure that if a hardware fails, what should I do? How can I scale my app? Do I have to buy a new the RAM or system to scale an app? So these are the information that comes up when you are thinking of a before the cloud. Okay, once the cloud came in, okay, the so-called PaaS, quote unquote PaaS, those questions went out. You don't have to take care of anything about your hardware. Okay, all you have to answer the questions of how can I patch my servers? How can I do a backup? How can I increase my server utilization? How can I deploy the code? These are the questions when the PaaS came in. The next serverless came in. When a serverless came in, you don't have to take care of anything. Okay, all you have to take care is what is the right size of my business needs. Okay, how do I scale my app? How can I increase the server utilization? Meaning you think about your own architecture and think in terms of architecture rather than thinking of the software or hardware or any other question that comes inside the software arena. Okay, let's get into the more understanding of the serverless. Then only you will be able to relate a lot. Okay, as I told you, IaaS is basically in 2005, Amazon came up with a cloud offering with only IaaS, meaning they'll give you a VM. You don't have to take care of any other hardware, any other software, any other information. Okay, you need to put a OS, you need to install your middleware, a runtime, some maybe a database and the application. And the PaaS offering came in. Next is offering is like an App Engine or the Azure's Web App. So those are the PaaS offerings that came in, where you have to take care of the data and also the application. You don't have to take about anything. And then came the serverless. Okay, that is where you don't have to take care even of the data or the application or any other third-party middleware or any other software that is needed for your application, the hardware, software. All you need to take is the backend, app backend, and your actual client. The now last point is called the SaaS, that is called software as service. The software as service is nothing but a service that is given to you as a software, like a Gmail ID, right? Gmail account. That's basically a SaaS offering, and maybe a SendGrid email you are using to send emails. So that is all you need to do is put a couple of keys in your application. You start sending email. It sends you email, right? You don't manage server. You don't manage the SMTP server. You don't manage the software, OS, hardware. You don't manage anything. They give you a software as service. That is a software service. Like example are Gmail. Okay. Next. So servers. Does it mean no servers? Not really. It does mean that there are no servers involved which you are not managing. So there are servers involved, but you are not the one who are managing. That's the main thing. So we have abstracted the server from you. The headache of managing a server or maintaining the server or patching the server is actually taken from you. That is the main reason of serverless. Next is event-driven instance scale. Okay. Initial days, if you want to create an application, you need to think about the scale that comes up. Meaning, how many users will be there? Do I have to buy a system of 32 GB or I have to buy a system of 8 GB? Okay. So that is how you have to think when you're thinking of your application. But the serverless provides you a better option where you can actually increase the server size based on the number of requests that comes into the server. That is the huge advantage of the serverless. Next, the servers are billed per second, meaning you will not be paying for the server even if you're not using it. What that means is, say I buy a VM of size, say 8 GB VM and a CPU, some 4 core and some memory, say 100 GB hard disk memory. If I buy that VM, I need to pay for the whole VM for the whole month. Okay, so if it's $75, you have to pay the $75 for the whole month, even if I'm not using it. But in case of serverless, I can actually pay only for the usage. As I told you when I started the session, it is only for usage, and usage is on second billing. If I use 10 seconds for a month, I'll be only paying for 10 seconds for the month. Okay, most of the time you will be paying zero amount because 1 million requests are free and some 4 GB of memory is free. So those are all easy to manage and maintain, and the cost is almost zero when you architect your solution to serverless. Let's look into how serverless evolved. First, we started with monolith. Monolith, nothing but a huge application where you actually build an application of, say, let's take a ordering system. The ordering system, product purchase, data warehousing, everything will be a one huge application. Remember the time where you had a project which had, say, solution which has 100 projects, right? What does that means? It is a huge monolith application. Then came microservices. They started dividing that huge monolith into multiple services. A product is one service, order is one service, purchase is one service, data warehousing is one service. But The function is next is the nano service, where inside the orders itself, they started dividing into multiple small components or multiple functions that runs on its own. What is the advantage of that? The advantage is mostly you can actually deploy faster. You can change faster. One change will not break the other. Okay, so that is a huge advantage of moving to nano services. So let's look into next the serverless apps lifecycle. First, you need to design, you develop, you deploy, and then you monitor. Okay, so that is the important point of having a serverless. You need to first design these and develop, deploy, and monitor is very important. You have to make sure that you have enabled the monitoring aspect, because you will not be having a proper log or any event log folder as you get in VM. Okay, so you should have at least enable something like an application inside that helps you to monitor your application and also see the logs, the error logs, the information logs, the warning logs, which helps you to debug your application if it goes wrong. Like you might have missed a config file, or you have missed a configuration key or a value, or a wrong key or wrong value, or something is failing again and again because of an exception, the database is down. So you need to figure out why your system is down, right? So you have to monitor your application to make sure that your system runs smoothly and it's easy to find what the fault is. All right, next. So there are multiple Microsoft serverless offering that is available. One of them is Azure Functions, which you're going to see right now, and the blob storages, traffic manager, which is used to divert traffic to multiple places, meaning you have websites. Say, I have users from UK, I have users in US. If I have deployed only one service, which is there in US, what is the problem is the person who is using from the US, it will be slower for them. Okay. What if I put a server in US also, but I'll be having only one IP, right? So there must be someone who actually diverts the traffic based on my usage or the region I come from. So that is why we have a traffic manager. Next is document DB, which is actually renamed as Cosmos DB, which gives you a dynamic scale of your data, where you have multiple APIs such as Gremlin, SQL, etcd, and also other APIs, MongoDB APIs, to make sure that you can actually put multiple JSON type of data into the database using a single interface of Cosmos DB. Next is the CDN. CDN is nothing but content delivery network. All it does is copy the static files of your website that is close to the user. So what happens when it's close to the user? The application looks to load faster in spite of having only one server or server far away from the user. We have lots of multi-learning, machine learning applications that is available in Azure offering, notebooks.azure.com, and those are all like beautiful serverless available. Everybody uses, even the open source guys uses it. Key Vault is one of the very nice vault service that is provided by Azure. You keep your keys, and we spoke about App Insight later before, and then Service Bus, IoT Hub, Queue. All those are all queuing mechanism where we can use it for asynchronous operations. Okay. So let's look into Azure Functions. We'll mostly concentrate today on Azure Functions because to the interest of time, we'll be concentrating only on Azure Functions and see what is Azure Functions. Okay, so we have a code, we have an event, right? What we need to do when some event happens, we want something to run. Okay. Previously, what we need to do, we have to make sure that those events has to be integrated and tested. With the invent of Azure Functions, both are coupled together. So integrating an event and a code is simple. Okay. There are multiple functions you can create. The languages supported are C#, Node.js, Python, PHP, and any backend processes. You can expose the Azure function as HTTP endpoints. You can easily integrate with logic apps, Event Grid, Cosmos DB, and Azure functions give you lots of offering to integrate with any event-based databases or any other event-based system. Okay. Azure function is nothing but events plus code. Where all I can use Azure functions. First is if you want to say run your background task for 30 minutes per day. Okay, only once. What if I put a VM? I have to pay for the whole month, right? But in case of Azure function, you'll be paying for 30 minutes into 30 days. That is what? 900 minutes. Okay, you'll be paying for 900 minutes, which actually might even fall inside the free tier itself. Okay. Next is the data. So I want my system to react whenever there is a push of data. Okay. What if I want to, whenever there is a image that comes into my system, that is like say 500 MB of image. Okay. But if I want to show that in my report, if I put a 500 MB of image, my report becomes a 2 GB of report, right? That's a useless thing to have because you might see a small image. So what you can do is whenever there is image push, you can actually divide it into smaller images. So you can show that in the report of 10 KB or 20 KB because that's the information you might need. Because right now all the mobiles are like with the 7 MP camera, 14 MP camera, so it gives you a huge size file size, but that might not be needed. So you have to shorten the image to small images to show that in a report. We can use Azure function for that. And next is the HTTP trigger. So what if I want to react for a HTTP? Okay, all I want to do is respond. The website might not be the API might only need it for half an hour or say 4 hours per day. I don't have to put it in a new VM and pay for the whole day, right? I can use the HTTP trigger. Azure functions are very useful because it's highly reliable once it's deployed. Okay, security, it's auto scaling because it scales on its own. Whenever there is an increase in traffic, suddenly the traffic is suddenly becoming 1 million traffic. What happens? The scale will automatically, the system will automatically go up, and then will be able to solve the 1 million traffic rather than timing out or being a bottleneck for your application. Okay, so you can only pay for your usage. Very less boilerplate to code. I'll show you a demo on that. You'll understand. It's easily integrated with range of service like Event Grid, IoT Hub, Cosmos DB, or any other third-party vendors also like Amazon. They are integratable to multiple services like Apache Kafka, Service Bus. So these are all implemented. Next, there are multiple types of Azure functions, as we call it as types of triggers. They are HTTP trigger, timer trigger, schedule, Cosmos DB, blob trigger, and queue trigger. So it also, as I told you, it also binds to lots of services like Service Bus, Azure Storage, SendGrid, Twilio, OneDrive. It actually automatically, without any problem, it goes into the system. Right. So App Services offers you dedicated and dynamic tiers. If you want to run a background process, the problem with the background process is with the dynamic plan, you can only run it for 10 minutes. But what if I want to run for 1 hour or 45 minutes? For that, what I have to do is I have to make sure that I have to choose a plan which is of 45 minutes. 45 minutes. So since the 10 minutes is the timeout, you need to choose the app service plan, or if you feel that you can re-architecture a system to make sure that it is you can divide that system into small which can run 10 minutes like 5 times, or different something like pure functions, then you can put it as a in dynamic tiers itself. So there are multiple planning tiers available. One is basic, standard, and premium. Okay, but the problem with that app service plan is you are responsible for the scaling. Okay, but in case of dynamic plan, you can it based on number of execution. Platform is responsible for scaling, but new offering has come. It's called premium plan. Okay, so that is the plan is actually gives you a app service, and once it scales that amount of above the app service plan, it will actually automatically becomes a app service plus dynamic, and it scales on its own. So premium is used for people who wants both the goodness of both the world, where consumption and dynamic and non-dynamic world. So they'll give you both the goodness from the in the Azure function. Right. The supported languages are C Sharp, F Sharp, JavaScript, PowerShell, and also Python. Okay, fine. So this is the concept of. So I have given an example of JavaScript here. You will also see an example of C Sharp in the later in the demo. So what it all does is, this is the one liner of code. The context is the context which runs. Okay, basically the context consists of the Azure functions runtime environment variables, and also data will have the actual trigger that call the function, and input will be the more data. Like if you add any other dependency injection or any other data, it will be there. So this is like a code, and the output will be the result 200 result, which you can push it into the server. This is basically for almost the same for HTTP trigger and also queue trigger. Okay, fine. So let's look into the following, where you understand about how things work in the Azure function world. Okay, if you have any questions, just ask in the moderator. The moderator will be pushing the questions to me, and then we can answer to that. Okay. If I'm going fast, you can tell them. If I'm going slow, you can tell them. So that is up to you guys. Okay, fine. Right. So trigger. So as I told you, it can be any trigger. Let's take an HTTP trigger. Okay, and you bind it to a one binding object, and you develop the code. You can actually test that in local. The good thing with Azure function is you can actually test that in local. It can be a Mac or a Linux or a Windows system. It really doesn't matter. The only serverless offering where you can actually test that in the code in your local is only in Azure. Okay, I don't think so. AWS or GCP gives you offering to test that in a local environment. Okay, that is the great thing to do with Azure function. You execute it and then monitor and improve. So that is a cycle that goes on with the Azure function. Right. Let's look into the demo today. Okay, let's go ahead and create one Azure functions. I'm gonna just leave it as it is. Let it get deployed.
Bro, just zoom your screen, bro.
Zoom on screen. Yes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Azure function is created. Let's go ahead and create one function. So I don't need any environment. Okay, that is the whole point. Click on plus. What I need to do is I need to create a HTTP. We'll do a HTTP trigger now. Let's name this as demo HTTP. Create function as anonymous level, so test it easy to possible. Right. I can test it even here. Okay, this is a code that needs to be run. Okay, I'm going to test it right now. Okay, fine. So I can even test that in the Postman now. Let's try that. How to test that? Okay, get the function URL. Copy this guy. Okay, it says pass a name in the query, right? So what I will do is I'll go ahead and pass a name. Name equal to as users. Okay, so this function executes successfully by appending the Azure users. If you see the code, a few lines of code which helps you to, so you can write whatever you want, right? So this can be multiple things you can do. Okay, so let's go ahead and create configurations. So these are the web storages that are available. So what I will do is I'll copy this guy. So let's go and create a QH. Now we have saw the HTTP trigger. So I did do nothing, right? It took me like 2 minutes to create a web API, correct? So that is very important. Okay, so that is the strength of serverless. Now I'll go ahead and create a asynchronous programming model which using a say queue. Let's go ahead and create what function add that will be queue storage trigger. Yes. Okay, the queue name will be this. Okay, so whatever I give as a queue item string, it should actually push that as a. You can also see the logs here. Can you see here? Actually, it's pushed to that queue. Let's go ahead and find that queue. It takes some time to actually reflect those details here. Let's wait for it. Says like 5 minutes. Let's wait for this queue to go up. Yes, this queue has been picked. Let's wait. It will be there within some time. So we saw what? First we created a HTTP function, HTTP trigger. Within minutes we created an API, and you can write whatever code you want inside the API itself. Okay. Next we created a queue trigger, meaning I have some application where I will push all the information, and it has happened. It actually process after some time. Okay, like using a queue or any other queuing mechanism we use for. Okay. Yeah, so there are multiple questions that came in. I think moderator will be able to answer. If there anything, any other question? Okay. Oh, still you need me to zoom. Yes. In location, it's not showing it. The lock should be here any minute. Let's connect it in the live itself. Now we can see the live metrics itself. I'll push something. Okay. I think it's probably processed. Let me check it. Allow users. Okay. Let's go and check the live metrics. It should be there. Any minute. That is strange. Keep on polling and picking it up. I don't know why it is not. It's picked up. Yeah, it's picked up, but it's not available. Let me check again. It should be somewhere here. It's all trace. Sometimes it's so fast it's actually picked up and move it. Okay. Let's wait for some more time and maybe check it. Maybe at the end of the session I can show you that log. It'll be there, that is for sure. Okay, so see, it has processed, right? Pretty slow. Let me refresh this guy. Yeah. I don't know what's happening there. The log is in because that is what we got processed. Okay, let's let's let it load. Let's not waste time on this. Let's get back to the Azure locally. How can I build a serverless locally? Okay, that's easy. Another easy one. Okay, it's not a anything different from this. I just use Visual Studio so that we can actually deploy that into our server also. Sorry, it should be create new project. And back function. There is one template here. All languages. Next, test set is C#, demo. Trigger. Let's create HTTP trigger S and keep it anonymous for us to test. Next, make sure, yeah. Okay, so this is the same code. The boilerplate code is already given. You can directly run it. Okay, all you need to do is install Visual Studio 2019, and the Azure Function CLI will be automatically installed by towards it. Or if I plus F5, it will either install a new one or it will upgrade if it is needed. Okay. Let's go ahead and test it. Starting an emulator that is needed for the storing the all the details of the Azure function. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this guy and try to run in the Postman. Okay, can you see here? It has been executed. Okay, but it says, okay, give me a name, pass a name. Okay, so I'm going to pass a name now. Okay, so it says hello Azure user. Okay, so this is what being called from the local. So it's the same experience. We didn't do much. I can start what? I can start adding multiple projects here, like a business layer and a database layer or whatever layer I want to add. And then I check into a Git repository or TFS and I can actually create projects out of it. So it is like a very versatile environment to create it, and both environments are almost same. So whatever you create here will be the same environment in the web app. You can Dockerize this application. You can also work on multiple things. Okay, so that is the important great thing with Azure Functions. It is very easy to use, easy to create, and easy to deploy also. Okay, fine. So benefits of serverless. What are the benefits of serverless? It's a pinnacle of PaaS. It is the next movement to from the PaaS. Okay, and you don't have to manage any hardware or software. Everything is managed by the cloud itself. You only work on business logic now and also solve the technical problems, but not any other problems. Right? It is very the effort you put into creating a system like a bots or SendGrid or any other Event Grid or any other serverless option, it's actually minimal. All you need to do is think of a business problem, think of a solution to solve it, and then find the Azure offering and then use it. Otherwise, if in real before when I was like 6-7 years old, I experienced 6-7 years before, we need to think about lots of information, how to put it in application server, when to deploy, how to create a staging server, how to create the server, production server, how to have a versatile environment, how to have an actual environment which actually it's almost like a production stage. So we need to have we used to have Vagrant. So those are all the things we need to install and have your laptop AV. Now it is all very minimal, multiple lines of code, multiple lines of configurations you are done, and you almost have the same configuration as you run in the cloud as in your system. So that is a huge advantage of being serverless. Like I showed you the Azure function, the emulator that came in, Azure Storage emulator. You have an emulator for Azure Cosmos DB. So there are lots of emulator you can use. Even for Event Grid, you can actually have an emulator. So these are the emulators you can use, and then have a cloud offering to scale far better and create your application faster and faster. Right. So these are the places you can go try functions. Most of them are free of cost. You can create an app service or function app, anything, and then try it out.